As the moon shone gently over the forest, Buddha and his disciples gathered under a large banyan tree. The air was cool and calm, carrying the soft rustle of leaves in the tranquil night. Among the disciples sat a young man, troubled and restless, unable to hide the storm within. The Buddha noticed the unrest in his disciple and turned his gaze towards him with calm curiosity. "Why is your heart so heavy tonight, my dear disciple?" asked the Buddha gently, his voice like a soothing balm. The young disciple hesitated, his hands fidgeting with the edge of his robe. Before he spoke, "Master," he began, his voice trembling with unease, "my heart is burdened by fears of what lies ahead." The Buddha listened patiently as the disciple continued, his words tumbling out in a torrent of worry. "I am terrified of failing in my path, of facing challenges I may not overcome. The future seems like a vast storm, and I feel lost in it." The Buddha stretched his hand toward a nearby lotus flower swaying in the breeze. "Ananda," he said, "observe this lotus. Do you see this leaf, my dear disciple?" he asked, turning it slowly for the disciple to see. The young man nodded, his attention drawn to the delicate veins of the leaf illuminated by moonlight. "This leaf," said the Buddha, "exists only in this moment. It neither laments the tree it once was part of nor fears the soil it may one day return to." Buddha continued, "Emotions are like waves upon the ocean. They rise, they fall, and they eventually fade into the vastness of the sea." He added, "You are not the waves. You are the ocean itself, infinite and boundless." "Master," he said hesitantly, "is it not natural to think of what lies ahead and prepare for it?" The Buddha smiled warmly, his eyes twinkling with understanding. "To prepare is wisdom, but to live in constant fear of what has not come is a burden," he explained. "When we dwell too much on the future, we lose the present, which is the only moment we truly possess." The Buddha rose to his feet and began walking slowly, his disciples following in quiet reverence. He led them to a nearby stream, the water glistening under the moonlight as it flowed steadily. Pointing to the stream, the Buddha said, "This water does not resist its journey. It flows freely, embracing each moment as it comes." He bent down and cupped some water in his hands, letting it spill gently back into the stream. "Do you see how it does not cling to the rocks or fight the current? This is how we must live, my dear disciples. Begin," he said, "by accepting the storm as part of your journey, not as an obstacle but as a teacher." He pointed to the distant mountains, their peaks shrouded in mist, and spoke with a conviction that made his words feel eternal. "Fear arises from our attachment to what we cannot control," he said calmly. "When we accept that the future is uncertain and surrender to the flow of life, we find peace." He gestured to the stream again and added, "Think of the water. Does it worry about what lies around the bend? Or does it simply flow, trusting its path?" The disciple nodded slowly, the truth of the Buddha's words beginning to take root in his heart. The Buddha continued, his voice steady and serene, "When we anchor ourselves in the present, we free our minds from the shadows of what may or may not come." He turned to the other disciples and said, "Each of you has the power to choose where your thoughts dwell. Choose wisely, for your thoughts shape your reality." The disciples listened intently, their hearts stirred by the simplicity and depth of the teaching. The young man, still kneeling by the stream, felt a sense of clarity he had not known before. "Master," he said, his voice steady now, "I see that I have been trying to control the uncontrollable. I will strive to live as the water flows, embracing the present." The Buddha smiled, his face radiating compassion. "That is the first step, my dear disciple. Each moment is a gift. Cherish it and let it guide you." As the night deepened, the disciples returned to the banyan tree, their minds quieter and their hearts lighter. Ananda listened intently, though the shadow of doubt within him resisted its dissolution entirely. Stillness is not the absence of movement, Buddha said, but the presence of clarity amidst uncertainty. I bowed deeply, my gratitude flowing like the river beside the grove. Unending and pure, the grove stood as a testament to the wisdom imparted. A sacred space where the seeds of understanding had been sown. Another day, another journey awaited the Buddha and his disciples as the sun began to rise over the distant hills. The soft golden light illuminated their path, casting long shadows on the dew-kissed grass of the forest. The group walked silently, their thoughts as calm as the morning breeze, until they came across a merchant. The merchant, a man in his middle years, struggled to lift a sack of grain onto a cart. His face glistened with sweat, and his breath came in strained gasps as he fought against his fatigue. The Buddha approached him and spoke in a voice that carried both kindness and curiosity. "Good man," he said, "why do you burden yourself so greatly on this fine morning?" The merchant paused, his hands resting on the sack, and looked at the Buddha with weariness in his eyes. "Master," he replied, "this grain is my livelihood. I must carry it to the market to trade, or my family will suffer." The Buddha nodded, his expression one of understanding, and turned to his disciples. "Shall we assist this man in his task?" he asked, his words a gentle suggestion rather than a command. The disciples stepped forward without hesitation, lifting the sacks of grain with ease and placing them carefully onto the cart. As they worked, the Buddha addressed the merchant once more. "Your burden is heavy, both on your body and on your mind. Have you considered why you carry it so?" The merchant looked at the Buddha, confusion flickering across his features. "What choice do I have, Master? This burden is my responsibility, and I cannot abandon it." The Buddha smiled softly, his gaze unwavering. "Responsibilities are indeed a part of life, but we often carry more than we must," he said. "Thank you, Master," Ananda said, his voice steady yet reverent, as though he carried both gratitude and awe in his tone. Buddha's gaze softened further, his voice gentle. "Remember, Ananda, doubt is a call to inquiry, not a condemnation of your path. I think often of the mistakes I have made and the opportunities I have lost." The Buddha gestured to the cart, now laden with grain, and said, "This cart, though strong, can only bear so much weight before it falters." Buddha spoke of the Four Noble Truths, connecting them to the emotional struggles that Sona faced within himself. He said, "Suffering arises from clinging to emotions. Understanding their impermanence leads to liberation from their grip upon your soul." Buddha added, "Follow the Eightfold Path, cultivating mindfulness, right understanding, and wisdom, and you will navigate emotions with clarity and ease." His teachings brought a sense of hope and purpose to Sona, who felt empowered to face his inner struggles. Together, they guided the cart along the winding path, their steps steady and purposeful. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the group reached the village market, where the merchant's burden was finally lifted. The Buddha and his disciples rested under the shade of a large tree, the sound of the bustling market filling the air. One of the disciples, Ananda, turned to the Buddha and asked, "Master, how can we let go of the past when it seems to follow us wherever we go?" The Buddha picked up a handful of sand from the ground and held it out to Ananda. "Close your hand around this sand and tell me what you feel," he instructed. Ananda obeyed, clenching his fist tightly, and soon his expression turned to one of discomfort. "The sand feels sharp and gritty, and it presses painfully against my palm," Ananda said, loosening his grip slightly. The Buddha smiled and opened his own hand, letting the sand slip away with the breeze. "When you hold on tightly, it causes pain, but when you let go, you find relief and freedom," he said. Buddha rose to leave, his steps gentle and quiet, and the disciples followed in reverent silence, carrying his words in their hearts. The grove stood as a sanctuary of wisdom, where emotions were not feared but understood, embraced, and transcended. He fears the water, its depth unknown, its flow relentless, Buddha explained, his words weaving a vivid tapestry of imagery. But his desire to cross burns stronger than his fear, he said, pausing to let the significance settle. Release is a practice, not a single act, he said. It requires patience, awareness, and the willingness to accept what is and let go of what was. Ananda's brow furrowed in contemplation as he visualized the man's effort, his inner doubts momentarily forgotten. The man sets out on his raft, Buddha said, his voice steady, braving the currents with courage born of necessity. The merchant, now unburdened, approached the Buddha and bowed deeply. Master, he said, your words have given me a new perspective on the weight I carry. I am deeply grateful. The Buddha returned the bow, his expression serene. He continued, emotions are visitors that come and go. They do not define you or belong to you permanently, Buddha explained. By understanding the impermanence of emotions, you free yourself from attachment to them and find serenity within yourself. The forest welcomed them back with the rustle of leaves and the call of distant birds. And the path ahead stretched out like a canvas waiting to be painted with the colors of the present. The Buddha walked at the front of the group, his presence a beacon of calm and clarity, guiding them toward the next lesson. And though the burdens of life remained, the disciples knew that within the wisdom of their master lay the keys to freedom and peace. Another day, another village welcomed the Buddha and his disciples as they walked through a path lined with wildflowers. The sun shone brightly overhead, casting warmth on the earth and illuminating the simple homes of the villagers. A young girl approached the Buddha with hesitant steps, holding a vibrant lotus blossom in her hands. The girl bowed deeply, her voice soft as she spoke. Master, I have heard your teachings and seek wisdom on a matter that troubles my heart. The Buddha smiled gently, his gaze inviting her to continue. She held out the lotus blossom, its petals glowing in the sunlight, and said, I dream of many things and hope for a brighter future. Yet my dreams seem distant, and my heart aches. The Buddha accepted the lotus, turning it delicately in his hands. Do you see how this blossom unfolds in the light, revealing its beauty moment by moment? He asked. The girl nodded, her eyes fixed on the flower, captivated by its gentle grace. This blossom, the Buddha said, exists perfectly in this moment. It does not mourn the seed it once was nor fear the petals it will lose. Ananda, Buddha said, his gaze direct yet kind. Faith is not the absence of doubt but the willingness to move forward. The Sangha absorbed the teaching in silence, their hearts resonating with the truth of the Master's words. He gestured to the petals of the lotus, vibrant and soft, and said, each petal is a moment, unique and fleeting, yet precious in its existence. The girl looked at the lotus and asked, Master, how can I live in the now when my mind is so full of dreams and hopes? The Buddha picked up a small pebble and tossed it gently into a nearby pond. Watching the ripples spread, observe the water, he said. It responds to the pebble, creating ripples, yet it does not cling to the disturbance. It returns to stillness. He turned to the girl and explained, dreams and hopes are like the ripples in the pond. They touch the surface of your mind but should not consume it. When you embrace the present moment, you allow clarity to guide your path. One of the disciples, Ananda, stepped forward, his brow furrowed in thought. Master, is it wrong to dream of a better future and strive towards it? The Buddha shook his head, his expression kind and patient. The disciples gathered once more, their hearts carrying questions, hopes, and the lingering traces of doubt from days prior. Ananda sat among them, his gaze steady yet inward, contemplating the truths shared by the Master. Without it, your dreams falter. Ananda bowed deeply, the wisdom of the Buddha's teaching resonating within him. The Buddha turned back to the girl, his gaze gentle and steady. Cherish this blossom as it is now, for its beauty exists only in this moment. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video. Thank you, Master, she said. I will strive to live as the lotus does, embracing the now. As the sun began to set, casting hues of gold and pink across the sky, the Buddha and his disciples prepared to leave. The villagers bid them farewell, their spirits uplifted by the teachings shared that day. The disciples visualized the image, their minds drawn to the simplicity and depth of the analogy unfolding before them. The shadow, Buddha said, does not extinguish the lamp, but it obscures its light. The forest welcomed them with its soothing sounds, the rustle of leaves and the song of distant birds filling the air. The Buddha, calm and radiant, led the way, his presence a beacon of peace and clarity for those who followed. Though the journey ahead remained unknown, the disciples carried with them the truth of the now, a gift that illuminated their path. And so, the teaching of the lotus blossom spread, touching the hearts of all who heard it, a timeless reminder to embrace each fleeting moment. Ananda, Buddha continued, doubt is not an enemy, but a messenger, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of yourself. Ananda lowered his gaze briefly, his heart resonating with Buddha's timeless insight. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.